are live visuals coming to you from Alexandra Township in Gauteng. Those are SANDF members who are on the ground. Now, the Defence Minister, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, announced the deployment of 25,000 members of the South African National Defence Force, and this was done to help quell the unrest as well as the looting that is being seen in parts of KwaZulu-Natal as well as Gauteng. But let's get an understanding now of this operation. And for this, I'm joined by Pikkie Greeff, who is the South African National Defence Union's National Secretary. Mr. Greeff, thank you very much for your time today. The initial deployment by President Cyril Ramaphosa was 2,500. That has now been increased to 25,000 SANDF members. How big are our troops in South Africa? How many members do we have of SANDF?
The SANDF has about 63,000 active serving members. And of course, as you said, it's 25,000 of them have been identified for deployment. I don't think we should expect 25,000 boots on the ground, though. Remember, a very large element of such deployment is support personnel in logistics, communications, etc. I think we should expect to see round about maybe triple the feet on the ground that we've spoken about earlier in the week, which is roughly 7,000 soldiers.
So around 7,000 boots on the ground is what you say we should be anticipating. I'll get back to the deployment of those soldiers. You mentioned that we've got a total number of 63,000 troops. There's a number of 70,000 that was being bandied about, and this in connection with lockdown level 5 and when the SANDF was deployed on the ground then. Where does that number come from? Does that also include then reservists?
That includes reservists. Many of your reservists are trained infantry and parachute members of the Defence Force, but of course they're in the reserve. All of them have, by the government gazette that's been proclamated last night by the Minister of Defence, they have all the reservists have been called up for duty to report to their units, and that's on the way. And so a large element of your reservists will be contributing to this deployment.
And how soon should we be expecting to see the additional number of SANDF members on the ground?
Look, it takes time. It's a gigantic logistical operation. It's the biggest, certainly the biggest military deployment in South Africa since the elections in 1994. So it should take about approximately within the next 48 hours to really see numbers on the ground. I think what is also just very significant for people to take note of is the gazette that was proclamated last night also gives very specific tasks under a very specific section of the Defence Act to the military. Unlike during the lockdown. In this case, it's under Section 19 of the Defence Act, and this proclamation now specifically gives soldiers the same powers as police, specifically regarding the powers to arrest. It gives the soldiers the right to self-defense, to defend the lives of others and the property of others. It gives them the right to cordon off certain properties to protect it. It gives them the right to escort cargo and goods, and it gives them the task of clearing the roads. And very importantly, it gives them airlift capability, and the Air Force is now going to become involved to transport troops and police to where they need to be if they can't get there over land. And it includes armored vehicles and the like. And I think very significant shift is that the proclamation clearly tells the soldier, instructs the soldiers that they are to engage the public in a courteous manner at all times and not retaliate to insults and mockery. But also importantly, if they are attacked by members of the public, they are compelled to stand their ground. That is rather significant. It's a great shift from the lockdown that we saw last year, and it's under a different section in the Defence Act. And so it does rather differ significantly.
And I'd like that you, Mr. Greeff, to break that down for us. Under what laws are the soldiers going to be acting under? You said it's a different section of the Defence Act. And if you could explain to us what you mean by they are compelled to stand their ground if they are being attacked.
Well, let's look at the different. Section 18 of the Defence Act allows the President to deploy the SANDF in support of healthcare, of another public service department, or in such as in a case of a national health emergency to preserve life. Now, Section 19 is a bit different. That empowers the president to employ the forces, and that's what's specifically stated in this mandate of last night, is to prevent and combat crime and to preserve and defend life and property. So one can see there's a shift in the nuance of what the mandate is, and then the specific tasks are rolled out. So, and it's rather significant at the end of the order that it basically boils down to that the soldiers are not allowed to retreat under this order. So if they are going to get attacked, and I'm practically speaking, and of course we hope that such a scenario never plays out, but if soldiers are going to get under attack where they are guarding a facility and their lives are threatened, or the lives of other people are threatened, or property is being threatened, they are compelled to defend the lives and property and themselves. And that might become lethal. One would certainly hope that would not be the case, but the fact is they are now empowered to do so, whereas initially they were simply in a support role for the police in order to give the police some breathing space to regroup. It's a much more aggressive nuance between Section 18 in the Defence Act and Section 19, under which this proclamation was made last night.
Is there an indication, Mr. Greeff, as to how long this deployment of the SANDF on the ground will be for?
The proclamation, I believe, runs from 12 July until 12 October. That's the dates that have been provided. I by no means think that that's necessarily a closed date, but I think it's a safe date that the authorities decided on, that they need these couple of weeks in order to restore calm.
There were plans for South Africa to send troops in support of Mozambique. How does this current deployment affect that?
Well, it will definitely affect it. I think that the Mozambican deployment would probably be put on the back burner a bit, given the situation we are facing, and probably until at least October. It's definitely going to have an influence, because we only have so much equipment and boots available on the ground, and it's really going to be an issue of deciding which is the more important. And I think obviously we'll all agree domestic issues are somewhat more important.
Before I let you go, Mr. Greeff, I'd like a clarification here. Earlier on you said that this deployment of this 25,000 troops, even though around 7,500 would actually end up being boots on the ground, is the largest SANDF deployment since 1994. How does this number compare to the number that was deployed for level 5 of the lockdown?
No, look, the thing with the level 5 lockdown is, and I've seen this on social media several times now, there is a misconception out in the public that 73,000 or 75,000 soldiers were deployed during level 5 lockdown. That is not the case. What was proclamated was that there was provision for 75,000 soldiers to be deployed. But at no time did that number really run past the 3,000 boots on the ground. The 25,000 we're looking at now that's why I'm saying that is the biggest deployment, because they are definitely all 25,000 getting involved in the deployment, whether they be on the front lines or whether they be in the shadows as logistical support, etc.
And just for clarity, the SANDF is firing live ammunition and not rubber bullets?
That is correct. The SANDF is equipped with live ammunition, and that includes on the armored vehicles, and that includes on the air support function that they have.
All right. Thank you very much for that clarity.